Hey there, this is Christy with ChristyMatthewsOnline.com. Hope you're having a great day. So, I've got some really cool information for you I hope that you're going to enjoy. And this was inspired by a conversation that I had with Amanda Ashton Booth. So, Amanda, thank you so much for inspiring me to share this information today. But we were having a conversation about how our personalities represent a color characteristic. And this was first observed by Hippocrates in ancient Greece, and it was the study was further researched by the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung, and he had developed a whole series on the characteristics of various colors and so forth. And the color chart is, red, green, blue, and yellow. And there are different characteristics. So I'm going to pull over here and chat with you just a few moments and share with you some very cool information, because knowing your character, your color characteristic, can be very helpful to you in having business and interpersonal relationships with other people. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for instance, you are dealing with, in fact, I don't like this position here. I'm going to go ahead and change and see if I can get something that has a little bit better lighting. But anyway, let's say that you are a real estate agent. I love dealing with real estate agents, as you well know. But let's say you're a real estate agent and you were working with a yellow personality, okay, and you're a blue. Now, blues are generally people who are analytical, okay, very detail-oriented. They put things in order and stuff like that. Sorry, the lighting's not all that great. Apologize for that. And yellows are the kind of people that are really not organized. They get excited and they're interested in a subject until the excitement wears off, and then they may drop interest in something, and so they have a tendency of not completing things. So a realtor who might be a blue or even a red dealing with a yellow might turn around and might burn out the yellow by talking about all of the various details of a contract, for instance. But if you know the characteristics of people and their different color characteristics, how you might deal with that yellow personality is maybe if you're out at the house with them and say, hey, look at this wonderful backyard. Imagine all the entertaining you're going to be able to do here, because those kinds of things are exciting for yellow personalities. It's not detail oriented, it is more creativity. Maybe they do like to entertain, barbecue, have parties, that type of thing. And talking to them in that particular level, it's not dumbing down in any way, it's just respecting their characteristics so that you can be with them on the same level. In fact, going over every line item on your contract with a yellow personality, you will lose them. That person will just be going there and say, just where do I sign? So you need to understand that. But I've got this great printout here that I want to share some things with you. So here are the colors. Blue, typically, this is the energies. They have no bias. They're objective, detached, and analytical. The green is still, they like tranquil, calming environments, soothing environments. Sunshine yellow, they're cheerful, uplifting, spiritual, and enthusiastic. And fiery red are positive, decisive, bold, and assertive. Okay? And you have to figure out where you are on the spectrum in between introversion and extroversion, in between thinking and feeling. And everybody has all the characteristics of all the four colors, but there are generally two that you're going to be more dominant with. When I had tested on this a few years ago, I lean more blue-green. I'm more of an analytical. I like to research things. The green in me means that I'm concerned about how other people feel. And I've had to learn how to be a little bit more quickly decisive. So, you know, the red and the greens on the spectrum, by the way, are complete polar opposites. So I've had to learn how to become more of an orange, which is not on this chart, but if you take a color wheel, you'll find that that's kind of in between the two colors. Here's some characteristics also that you need to be aware of. The blues, cautious, they're precise, they're deliberate, they question, and they're very formal. The greens, caring, encouraging, sharing, they're patient and very relaxed. Sunshine yellows are sociable, they're dynamic, they're demonstrative, they're enthusiastic, and they're persuasive. Fiery reds are competitive, they're demanding, they're determined, they're strong-willed, and they're purposeful. Now, when you take a closer look at the dominant color energies, you're going to see this. A cool blue are people with a high level of blue energy, maybe my blue hair. Their lives according to the principles, they fact and their logic, and they find everything in their reality. They like to analyze all the possibilities to make sure they don't make an uninformed decision, and this is where you can get in a little bit of overanalysis paralysis. They are planners and organizers with the ability to work out tasks systematically from start to finish. As a result of the thoroughness, they are often reluctant to make or express decisions quickly. And facts, logics, and principles can appear more important than friendships or personal gratification. They may be seen as detached or even distant at times. Okay? The earth green are people with a high level of earth green energy. They're especially concerned with feelings and relationships. They don't want to hurt your feelings. They want to be make sure that you guys are you're connecting. Their concern for others' people's well-being can often bring warmth to a situation. They're sensitive to the values behind people's actions and are often able to remain calm and patient, even in stressful circumstances. They can be slow or reluctant to shift their personal values, despite the apparent logic of an argument or a situation. And they tend to avoid decisions that can involve a violation of their values or risking the unknown. Now, the yellow personality, these are people with a high level of energy. They spend their efforts racing toward their dreams of the future. They move from one idea or activity to another, building possibilities of tomorrow. Their behavior can be fun, and others can get caught up in it. Because they focus their attention on futures and often intuitive visions, they may be perceived by others as more imaginative and creative than the other colors. They may become completely committed to an idea and then discard it soon after the excitement wears off. They may therefore appear to others as shallow, impractical, and unrealistic in difficult times. Their optimism can mean that they will be prone to denial at times. And then finally, the fiery red. These are people with a high level of red energy. They know what they want, and they have little difficulty in stating their conclusions. They're concerned primarily with action. They deal quickly with the present situation and appear to have little concern for the past. Their responses are efficient and focused. They know what they want, and they tend to be impatient with delays. Do you know anybody like that? They may show less concern for the feelings of others or for personal relationships. Others can see their actions as hard or critical because they limit the attention they pay to their relationships, and they often seek power and control over situations. Now, when the strengths become weaknesses, and we're going to end up closing off the video with this. So let's talk about when we're playing to our strengths, we generally are at our most comfortable and likely to be most efficient and effective. However, if we overplay our strengths, they can become weaknesses. So let's talk a little bit about those. So the potential weaknesses of blue energy is that people with a lot of cool blue energy have a strong need to understand and question things. This can lead to a tendency to overanalyze and become overloaded with information, analysis to paralysis. Avoidance of confrontation can lead to feelings and resentments becoming bottled up. Can you relate to some of that? I know I can. They may read too much between the lines and foresee the worst possible outcome of situations. So to develop the blue energy, They can increase their effectiveness by learning not to expect perfection from themselves and others, expressing themselves more freely. Don't worry about, how maybe somebody else might take what you have to say. They'll get over it. Here's some energy weaknesses of the green energy. People who use a lot of green energy like to be cooperative and enjoy facilitating other people's contributions. As a result, their own contributions can be overlooked and undervalued. So they're not loving themselves enough. Their own concerns are not as important as other people's. They tend to judge their own and others' actions against their own personal values. They can become defiant and stubborn if these values are violated. They focus on the positive in others and prefer to praise rather than critique. And because of this, they may avoid confrontation or giving necessary negative feedback. I know because I have a green tendency, that is something that's very difficult for me. I've had to learn how to be more assertive and really say what's on my mind. I've had a tendency to dance around the subject and then finally come out with something. Unless I'm extremely comfortable with people that are around me, then I can be, my daughter has told me in time, Mom, you're brutally honest, so I've tried to learn how to become more brutally honest with a little bit of compassion and diplomacy. So to develop that energy, you can increase the effectiveness by developing greater assertiveness and making their contributions more visible, being more open to other people's values, even if at first they appear to be in conflict with their own. Now, let's get to the sunshine and yellow energy. People who use a lot of yellow energy are responsive to others, but because of this, they may make promises they can't keep. So, just too much on their plate. They're motivated by relationships and can tend to lose track of time. Have you ever talked with the yellow? They can go on and on and on. Their willingness to help others and be part of a team may lead to overcommitment and failure to see things through. And that's what leads to burnout. They may become overly emotional when under stress or in conflict and may fail to keep the continuing support of the group. So for development of the yellow personality, they can increase their effectiveness by realizing they cannot please everyone. Learning to say no more often. Saying no encourages them to stay focused on their own objectives. And now finally, let's talk about the fiery red energy. So this is the potential weaknesses of that energy source. They're authoritative and independent. The effectiveness of people who use a lot of fiery red energy can suffer as a result of their failure to win the commitment of others on their team. Their ability to focus single-mindedly on their objectives and their reliance on their own personal experience may only lead to their having a narrow field of vision. This may lead to the difficulty of anticipating problems and in studying alternative approaches. Have you ever worked with a very difficult supervisor or manager who is very narrow-minded and doesn't want to hear you out? Their desire for closure and to save time by doing things themselves can lead to an inability to develop the potential input of others. You've heard of those people, you've seen those people say, oh, that's okay, I'll just do it myself. And it's that impatience that's turning around and hurting them. So to develop the fiery red personality, they can increase their effectiveness by acknowledging that the accomplishment of organizational objectives requires teamwork and cooperation by becoming more receptive to them. So there is no I in team, so you got to get rid of that I and be more of a team member. And realize that by taking the time to develop, inform, and gain the support of others, they can greatly increase commitment, leading to improved overall performance. Creating a buy-in can be easy and is vital to the success of the team. So folks, I hope this helps you out a great deal. I'm going to go ahead and put this post up a little bit later on today so that you if you want to download it, then you can do that. If you just go ahead and Google Carl Jung, that's Jung, and there is a color personality test that you can take online. I would recommend that you do that. There are all kinds of personality tests out there, but it's always good to know what type of personality tendencies you have and characteristics, and learn how to identify them in others so that you can relate better with those that you are doing business with and those that you are, have a personal relationships with. It will help you dramatically. And that little tip that I gave about real estate, it definitely works. I used to work with engineers, was something were people that I was attracted to, and it's probably because I share that analytical quality. So what I was able to do for engineers who had a difficult time making a decision was forward thinking the situation and having all the answers that I can think of to the questions that they would be asking me. And so this way we can get to a decision quicker. And just like I shared with a yellow personality, don't overwhelm them with too many details. You will lose them. So anyway, folks, I hope that this helps you out. And you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Okay, take care. Bye.